There you go. My name is Jeff Siegel. I'm a health and wellness coach, and I do a lot of work with foundation medicine on everything from mindfulness and meditation to exercise, fitness. And today we're going to spend, roughly the next 25 minutes just doing some gentle movement and some stretching for your body. And, I'm making the assumption that you're probably spending a good amount of time sitting down in front of a desk, in front of a computer, or working on a device. Maybe you've already been at work for hours doing this. So I really want to help provide you some tools, some movements, and some stretches that you can do both right now, but also forward in your day to help just keep your body a little bit looser, a little bit more balanced, and hopefully a little bit more pain-free. Because what happens is when we spend too long in any one position, whether that be sitting or something else, right, our body is going to naturally shift its shape. Certain tissues are going to sort of lengthen and get locked in different ways. And so we need to spend a little bit of time to address that. And ultimately doing it feels good. So I really want to, the two biggest things for me is getting you just sort of back into your body, right? So cutting out of your head, back into your body, and doing it in a way that feels good. So as I guide you through this, just pay attention to sort of the pleasantness or unpleasantness, right? And when you're stretching, there's always going to be that edge where things might feel a little bit uncomfortable, all right? And just know that you can always back off and come back to a place that feels better, or try to just take a breath and hang out there and just notice how the body will naturally release and soften, all right? So I'm going to be leading us through some stuff, starting sitting down, all right? And we'll do most of these stretches and movements sitting down, and then I'm gonna work one more thing into our hip flexors at the end, okay? So I'm just sort of sliding to the edge of my seat, all right? Just that way I can keep my back nice and upright, you can see, right? So I'm not leaning back, right? So whatever sort of seat you are on, all right, just kind of slide your butt to the edge. Just allow your hands to come down, all right, your legs. And then I just want to begin with some head and neck rolls, right? So what you're going to do is just tuck your chin down to your chest, and then just allow your head to roll to one side and up to the back, and then allowing it to come back down the other side. As you're doing this, try breathing in as the head comes up, and then exhaling as the head rolls down the other way. So with all of these movements, when you incorporate the breath, it acts as a powerful signal, not only to help focus your mind, to let go of a lot of unnecessary chatter, but to help cue your nervous system to relax. Especially that long exhale can be really helpful to just nudge your body back into a place of rest and relaxation. And that's ideally what we want, because we spend a lot of our time kind of unconsciously holding on to tension. Slowing this down, feel free to close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. You're just paying attention to the sensation, the stretch moving around your neck. Relax your jaw and your mouth. And at any point, you can stop this motion, right? And come back to center. Good. And I see this question, Emily, about kind of not rolling your head up and back. And it is true, your cervical vertebrae are pretty sensitive, so I wouldn't want to crank my head way up at the ceiling, all right? So you can kind of just let it gently fall back, all right, to more of a vertical position, all right? And that's not to say that you should never look up, because that is a natural human movement too. But you just want to be careful, especially if you have any pre-existing issues going on in your spine and your vertebra, right? So with all of these things, there's going to be a range of motion that's going to be right for your body and for anybody here. And I want you to kind of just pay attention. I trust you and your own wisdom to notice what's going to feel best for you. Okay, we certainly don't want to do, especially with the neck, any violent motions, right? So that's why it's important to go really slow here and gentle. And when you feel ready, just letting your head come back to center, noticing that sensation there. And then we're going to move into our shoulders, and we're going to do some shoulder rolls. So here, I just like to take my arms down to the side, and we're going to breathe in Let your shoulders rise up towards your ears. And then squeeze your shoulder blades back and just let your arms get nice and heavy and long. Same thing, breathing in and up. And breathing out and down. You can make your breath as loud as you like, whatever feels good for you. Notice again, there will be a difference probably between left shoulder and right shoulder. It's always nice to sort of tune into the body and what it's telling you today. And just trying to exaggerate the different parts of this motion. As you breathe in, you can feel that sense of length coming in through your spine. And as you exhale, it's just that softening, just allowing the muscles to loosen. So going a couple more times, breathing in and up. And you can always smile. The key is to enjoy this. This is about having a nice experience with your body that's totally separate from the rest of your workday, separate from any other sort of maybe exercise or fitnessy things that you're doing. Really just focusing on movement, recovery, balance, relaxation. And then just kind of coming back to center. All right. Next, I'm going to have you take your hands and kind of interlock your fingers. And I want you to just push your hands forward, kind of letting your shoulder blades slide up. Okay? And then I'm going to have you breathe in, reach your arms overhead. If it feels comfortable, you can take a little bit of a back bend here. If you want to let the hands rise up, you can even let your eyes look up overhead. Again, always moving slowly into any extension, coming back. And then we're going to take a little side bend. So exhale, pull your hands over to one side. And then inhale back up to the top. And then exhale, pull your hands over to the other side. And just play around with this movement, right? Going at your own pace here. Whatever sort of speed feels appropriate for you. And if you can breathe with it, the better. Maybe one more time each side. And then when you're ready, just letting the hands come back to the center one more time, maybe reaching up as long as you can. So really let your arms slide up towards your ears, lift your chest, lift your head, push those hands up and above, slightly behind you. And then exhale and just letting your arms drop back down to your side. So from here, I want to just go into a little bit of a twist. So this is sort of depending on what kind of chair you have. I like to kind of reach around. I'm going to grab the back of my chair here, or you can also kind of grab your stool. The other hand is going to come around towards my leg, and I'm just going to gently begin to pull my chest to the side, right? Starting kind of slow. And again, you want to think about creating that length through your spine, allowing your rib cage to begin to twist. Find that end range of motion, and then just stay there and breathe. And just notice how things soften. And once the softening happens, take a breath. And if you want to apply a little bit of pressure, just kind of pushing a little bit more into your hands, getting slightly deeper into that twist. Maybe just checking out the wall behind you. And slowly unwinding back to center. Taking a breath here, just letting things restore back to neutral. And then we'll go to the other direction. So I'm going to reach around, grabbing some part of my chair, other hand coming across my leg onto my thigh. And I'm going to begin to just slowly twist my chest. And again, don't worry about how deep or far you get into this motion. All right. It's just whatever that end range is for you, you want to hang there nice and tall. Again, let the body become comfortable in this position, soften, breathe, and if you feel appropriate, you can always deepen it by applying some more pressure, pulling yourself a little bit more into that twist. Right. And you never want to kind of pull into pain, right? And there's this sort of fine line between what I call productive discomfort and pain. Pain, there's always going to be a motor reflex to just withdraw, all right? There's usually this sort of sharp and quick urge to want to move out of a position versus a productive stretch is like there's sensation, but there isn't that urge to withdraw from it. So coming back to center now. And then next we're gonna kind of go into some stretches from sitting, all right, into piriformis and the outside of the thigh. So for here, what I'm gonna have you do is take one leg and just crossing it up and over your opposite knee. And if you can, just sort of gently begin to allow that knee to drop to the side, so we're opening up this hip. Again, sitting up nice and tall. And then I want you to just bring your chest, exhaling down towards that leg. You can either let your arms come to your side or in front of you, all right? And you want to try to just hug your chest towards that leg, allowing the head and the neck to relax. And the area we're targeting here is in that bent leg, this whole kind of hip complex, glutes and area. You should feel a little bit of a pull back into that region. Breathing in. Again, allowing your body to find the right stretch for you, soften. Right? And just notice the thoughts. There might be thoughts, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Maybe you're still thinking about a million other things with work and other stuff, right? Give yourself permission for just the next, 10 minutes to really just be here with your body, taking care of it. Your future self, right, is going to thank you for doing this. And when you're ready, I want you to take your hands and kind of push yourself back up to a vertical position. And when we're coming out of a stretch, it's often helpful to kind of passively move back to a neutral position instead of using the muscles we just stretched to pull us back up, because that's just going to kind of recontract the muscles, and sometimes that's sort of unproductive. So letting that leg just kind of come back down to the ground, be loose for a second, pausing, breathing. We'll take the other leg, bringing it up, crossing it over, letting that knee drop. Again, breathing in, creating that length through your whole body. All right, feeling that bottom foot nice and grounded, and then just beginning that exhale as you drop forward. And there's always this process of checking in and noticing, where am I feeling the most sensation? Is it in my back that's rounding? Is it in my hip? Is there something else going on in my body? And you can gather all sorts of data that's just going to be helpful for you to better take care of yourself. Relax your head, coming down, draping. And trying to find a restful position, breathe, soften. Just enjoy being here. And for a moment, nothing else you have to do. Then just enjoy the stretch. Good, and kind of pushing yourself back up to a tall position. Resetting the feet back on the floor. For those of you that have done yoga or similar type practices, you've probably done some sort of cat-cow experience. And I see Jonathan's comment here about not getting your upper leg. Yes, and so that's there is nothing wrong with you. I want to get rid of this idea of right or wrong. So if your leg is sort of stuck in this position, that is totally fine. All right, we do need to then kind of work on what we call this external rotation. But again, just kind of find the stretch that's going to work for you. Even here, it can be productive. And there's other variations that you can do down on your back that might actually allow you to access that stretch a little bit easier. But Jonathan, I don't want you to think there's anything wrong with you. So I was gonna say, we're gonna go into a little kind of cat-cow, but from seated. So if you're sliding all the way to the edge of your chair, hands gently resting, all right, on your knees, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna begin to kind of round my spine forward, right? And this position we often actually try to avoid is sort of that slouching But we're doing it here intentionally. I really want you to arch and rounding, all right? And then we're gonna go into the opposite position. I'm gonna have you tuck your pelvis forward, push your belly out, squeeze your shoulder blades behind you, all right? Kind of lift your sternum, all right? And just try to get a little bit of tension, all right? And arching on your back as you breathe in, all right? And then you're gonna flip it, go the other way. Exhale, draw the belly in, drop the head, let the shoulders rise forward towards your ears, and then inhale. You can even kind of push your arms a little bit into your legs as you create some length across the front side of your body. So exhaling and inhaling. Squeeze. And ideally what we want here is your entire spine from your tailbone all the way up to your skull, kind of going through this flexing and extending, kind of arching and bending motion. All right, and it's just to help us preserve that spine mobility. Maybe going 2 more times here. Squeezing, lifting. And when you feel ready, just relaxing, coming back to a nice neutral vertical position. So notice your posture now, all right? Most of the time when we're sitting in front of a computer or a desk, we are not in this position, all right? So taking a moment to just try to find some better alignment before you go ahead and start to get into some work can be really, really helpful for your body. So I want you just to sort of close your eyes if you'd like. Notice what this feels like to have some good stacking of your spine, have the shoulders relaxed, the head and neck a little more open, all right? And then this way, when we're sitting, we can at least sit in a way that's gonna be least detrimental for what's happening in our body. So I'm gonna show you one more seated stretch. I really like this one. It can be really helpful to release kind of a lot of lower back tension, all right? And so for here, I'm gonna have you kind of, again, slide to the edge of your chair. Take your legs out a little bit wider, all right? Now, depending on what kind of chair or object you're sitting on, this may look a little different. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one hand, I'm gonna reach under and kind of grab the lip of my chair or even maybe the stool or one of the legs. And then I'm gonna begin to lean in the opposite direction, all right? I'm trying to create length here from kind of my rib cage down towards my hip. Begin just leaning, letting your arm press against your leg until you begin to feel maybe a little bit of a stretch down the backside. Again, holding that, breathe. All right, you want to get a good grip with this bottom hand so it kind of supports you so you don't feel like you're going to fall over. All right, and then the next piece is taking that top arm, reaching up, and just letting it reach up over your head. And as you do this, you can really begin to feel that length coming down, all right, into your obliques, your quadriceps lumborum. And you can just hold here. Again, breathe, let the body soften. And you can move the hand a little bit, maybe reaching forward an inch. That's gonna move the stretch up the back, all right, or opening it up. And sometimes I'll let the arm kind of drop down as I'm gonna touch my knee, and then I'll move it back up. Yeah, I can do this with my breath as well. So I can kind of exhale, let the arm gently move towards the bottom leg, and then inhale, reaching that hand overhead. And as I do this, you can see I'm getting deeper and deeper into this stretch. Really nice side opener. Long exhale is gonna help facilitate what's going on for you here. And when you're ready, I like to take this hand, I'm gonna gently push down on my leg again to kind of passively bring me back up to a vertical position, taking a moment to reset and balance. And then we'll try the same thing on the other side, reaching the other arm either through, grabbing your chair or grabbing the leg of your stool, and then beginning to lean in the opposite direction And you might need to kind of orient your rib cage a little bit to try to find the right angle. But again, creating this length along here. Find that stretch, and if you want to lift the arm up overhead, letting it reach, breathe, and smile. Smiling always helps. Now notice if you feel a lot of compression or tension in this area that we just stretched, you might want to back out of it, right? Come back, relax, and then see if you need to kind of find your way back into a stretch. All right, we never want to tense one thing, all right, and that we just stretched that might counteract what we're actually trying to do here. I'm letting the arm reach, holding, breathing, arm nice and long. Good. And taking the hand down to the leg, pushing yourself out. And coming back to center. Again, checking in, noticing how it feels on the side of your torso, side of your belly right now. Giving that a nice deep stretch. Maybe you got a couple cracks out of your back. Usually that's totally fine. Good. And so I'd like to move into one more stretch now that we're gonna do on the floor. So again, I'm thinking a lot about, the type of conformation, the type of changes that happen in your body from a lot of sitting, right? One of them is your hip flexors right here, right? They get very locked in a shortened position. And that's one thing that's really hard to address. So I'm going to show you my favorite hip flexor stretch. So you can do this, ideally I like to do it against a wall. So if you have a wall, just a little space of wall that you can use, I'm going to go right back here so you can see. All right. I like to have the chair nearby, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down onto my knees. All right. The one thing I'm going to recommend you do for this last stretch is grab a pillow or a towel if you have it, if your floor is hard, because it might be a little bit rough on the knees. And I want you just to kind of come down onto your knees, all right, with your feet pushed up against the back of the wall. And then what you're going to do is you're going to lift one foot up and just push your toes into the wall like this. All right. The other leg is going to come forward. All right, so I'm in this half kneeling position. I have my toes pushed against the wall, knee on the ground, other foot on the ground. And then what we want to do is we want to kind of start to tuck our tailbone underneath us. So I'm kind of posteriorly tilting my pelvis. All right, and then I'm just going to begin to lean forward. I can take my hands down to the ground or on my leg. All right, and I constantly want to try to kind of pull my hips forward as I'm pushing that back foot into the wall. So just kind of coming into this position like such, okay? Might take you a moment to get set up here. And then I want you to just, again, try to kind of push your foot into the wall as you pull your hips forward. What we want to try to do is create length right here in this hip flexor. So that knee that's bent and pushing into the wall, all right, this area we want to try to get as long as possible. You're going to have to put a good amount of weight into this front leg, that's okay. The other nice variation is if you have a chair that you just are sitting on, slide that over, bring that in front of you, and you can just rest your arms on the chair. Continue to allow your hips to move forward, all right? You're going to kind of tuck your tailbone, push your foot and knee into the ground, and find that stretch here on that hip flexor. Again, this is a really, really fantastic stretch. And I've pretty much never met a person that doesn't need a good hip flexor stretch unless you really spend your entire day standing. There's a good chance that those hip flexors are going to be locked in a shortened position. So just breathing, again, allowing the stretch to soften, and then you can always increase it a little bit by tucking the hips, pushing the foot into the wall, contracting for just a few seconds and releasing. And when you feel ready, kind of pushing yourself slowly out of that position, all right? Coming back down onto both knees, and we're just gonna work into the other leg. So again, from the side, just so you can see, right, I'm lifting one foot, I'm gonna drive that foot into the wall, and the other leg is gonna be coming forward as I lean and shift my weight like this. okay? So I'm just gonna kind of get myself set up on the other side. Knee comes to the floor, toes push into the wall, foot comes in front. All right, trying to square my hips, kind of tuck my belly in and my tailbone down as I begin to pull my hips away from the wall, but I'm still putting a little bit of pressure into those toes, opening up this hip flexor on the opposite side. Notice what it's like to either kind of rest on your leg, maybe rest a hand on the floor, or if you like the variation with the chair, pulling that chair over to help support yourself. You can let your forearms rest on the chair. And then this can be just a really nice position. We're gonna just hold this for 1 more minute and then we'll wrap up for today. Right. Notice the softening, take a breath. Try to maybe push your foot a little bit more into the wall, tuck your tailbone. Right. Finding as deep of a stretch as you can get today. And slowly easing yourself up out of this. Great. And I want you to slowly come up to standing and just take a moment to just walk around and just notice how your whole body feels right now. Especially those hip flexors, right? Sometimes it feels like, whoa, I've got brand new hips, I got brand new legs. So I want to thank you so much for joining our stretching sessions for today. It's been a pleasure.